I'm Brent Leary.
Paul Greenberg.
Hey, wait a minute. It ain't Thursday. Are we allowed to do that?
Actually not, but before the police come knocking at our door, let's try to get in an hour of pirate live streaming.
Okay, well, we are the CRM Playaz, even though it's not a Thursday. So we're legit. We're here. We're happy to be here, right?
Well,
Okay.
I don't want to go overboard. I mean, this specific thing we're doing, we're really happy to do.
Right. That's it. We're here, especially. I was going to say we're here, especially on a Monday, and it's Tuesday because it's the Tuesday after Labor Day. It always feels like a Monday, but this is a special Tuesday after Labor Day event because for the second year in a row for us, and I think it's the 23rd year of these awards, the CRM Magazine Awards, the industry awards from CRM Magazine. They are graciously allowing us to live stream the actual winners for the first time in it. You can't get it anywhere else, folks. You can't go anywhere else. You got to stick with us for the next hour to see who won first, right?
Right. Not much more I can say to that one.
Yeah. All right. And so this is a special CRM Playaz. So some of the usual segments, I know the venerable Paul Greenberg is really broken up about this part. There will be no Stump the Godfather because this is not a regular CRM Playaz show.
And Paul Greenberg, the godfather of CRM, is very happy, even willing to speak about himself in the third person.
I know that usually doesn't happen, folks.
No, I'm not a third person speaker.
So we are doing, get this right. This is what we're here for today. And we have the two driving forces behind this with us. I'm going to actually say their names right this time, too. It took me like 20 years to get it.
Given this is special, you could do the intros.
Well, I'm just going to
say their names right.
I'm going to do the names. Bob Fernickies and Lynn Klee.
Congratulations.
I really feel proud of myself after like 20 years of getting it completely wrong and botched. Now I'm on a roll. I think I've done the last 3 times I've pronounced their names. I've gotten it right. So they are joining us to unveil the awards. And we're not going to spend a lot of time up front because we're going to try to get this all done in the next hour. So with that in mind, let me go to Bob and Lynn. Thank you, man, for joining us today. This is great.
Hey, great. Thanks so much for inviting us.
You both talked to the exact same time. Completely canceled each other out. I have no idea what either of you said.
I'm just going to say thanks for inviting us, and I think that's what Len said.
Yep, basically the same thing.
Okay.
Glad to be here. Glad to be doing this on your channel.
Aren't you glad Brent got it right?
Yeah, I got your names right.
Your name's right. Finally.
Anyway, this is really cool. For the second year in a row, we're doing this. And I think we're going to try to get it all done in an hour. So matter of fact, let me just start and give people a little bit of what we're doing today. So the next hour, we're going to be announcing the CRM Industry Awards. And just to let everybody know, there are 11 categories here. There's a good number of categories and everything. I mean, there's some new ones here, like I don't believe generative artificial intelligence was around last year. It was around.
That's a new category. So we introduced a new category called Complete CX Suite. And we reformulated the data category for data management, it's called now. Last year we had I think it was a customer data platforms one, but we kind of expanded it and broadened the category to include a little bit more.
All right. Oh, cool. So the other categories were here last year.
Yes,
as they are.
We added those 3, or changed the one, added the 2, and we pulled a couple other categories to keep it at that 11 threshold. But,
and carried the 1. And anyway, no, I'm just kidding.
Exactly.
And if we do have time, there is what's the conversation starters? If we do have time to get to these,
these are companies that did some very cool, innovative stuff during the course of the past 12 years. It's 12 months. It's kind of a what have you done for me lately kind of a thing. So it's, companies that had great product introductions, great mergers, acquisitions, kind of position themselves in new markets, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
And I know you had a panel of industry insiders and experts and influencers, all that helped with
all-star panel.
the all-star panel. Now, talk about how the all-star panel was used to come up with the results that we're going to see today.
So basically what we do with the awards, we have a panel of analysts, industry consultants, those sort of folks, and that list is there. So you get an idea of who the participants were this year. We reach out to them a couple months before the actual awards, send them a basic set of questions. And for the awards this time around, it's basically 2 questions we ask. Well, actually, we added a third one, but I'll get into that in a second. But basically, we went to the analysts, gave them the list of the categories, and kind of posed the question to them. If a client of yours came to you and said he wanted to put in a new solution in one of these categories, which 5 vendors would you say would go on your short list for him to look at, and why? And then we added an extra question this year, which will have some industry folks that we didn't maybe get to in another way, called niche players. So we added that this year so that it would kind of, include more companies and expand the pool a little bit. So the other question then was, are there any niche players within that particular category that you would like to call out?
Awesome.
So they submit it, then the analysts submit their lists. We pool them all together, mix and match, and come up based on the numbers of recommendations, come up with our top 5, and this is what you get.
All right. Hey, Bob, any last words before we jump into this?
No, Lynn did a great job. Just for people that haven't been following us, we've been publishing since 1997, so I guess this is our 27th year, although this is only our 23rd year of doing these awards. And I know some of these people have joined us over the years, but most of them have been with us for a very long time, and they're, we aggregate what we consider the most tapped in people in the industry for our awards. So that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, and as you'll see, we've got a pretty notable list of people there. We've got some Forrester folks. Probably a couple of these people are on our panel today or attending or watching. Certainly, we've got our 2 hosts there. You'll see Paul Greenberg's name in that list. You'll see Brent Leary's name in that list. But beyond that, we've got some pretty notable names in the industry that have been around for a while, been around with us. We lost a couple analysts this year that seemingly retired or have stepped aside, stepped away from the industry. So panelists might be a little bit smaller than it has been in the last few years anyway, but we're trying next year. We'll be looking to expand that. So if you're an analyst and you want to participate, feel free to reach out to me after, and we can add you to our list.
And I think Paul and I know a few folks that we're going to recruit.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
We're going to recruit. All right. And there is one of the folks that is on the panel, John Ragsdale.
Hi, John.
All right. So let's get into it. And we're going to, like I said, we have about 11 of these categories. So we're going to kind of keep things moving. So the first one up, Enterprise CRM Suite. And the top 5 for that is Zoho, Pega, Microsoft, Oracle, and Salesforce. Lenny, any surprises here, or is this what you were expecting?
I think the Zoho is kind of a new and interesting twist. I don't think they've really made it this far. They started out in the smaller business space, and they've gone up market, down market, and expanded across some of the other segments, so they're a new category. Pega, I think, is kind of new to this space as well, so they were surprises, but the other ones, Oracle, Salesforce, Microsoft, those are companies you would expect to be in this space that have kind of dominated for years and years and years.
Yeah, just me personally, it's kind of nice seeing some new folks. Like, they're not new, but they're kind of new to the category, I guess. Like Zoho and Pega make their way up there. That's kind of a big accomplishment for them, I would think.
Especially Zoho has actually been moving consistently up market for the last since 2018. Actually, it's the first year it started going up market. So this is actually really interesting.
Hey, Sarita, nice to see you. Nice to see you. Yeah, so that's cool. I think it's cool to see some new folks, but not new folks. New folks into categories they're not usually in.
Yeah, sorry, Brent. I just want to mention one thing, that in the magazine they're in alphabetical order because we do not choose an order. So I just want to put that out there because that's a kind of an important one.
Right.
Yeah, and you know what? The
Exactly.
order
there's no top. These aren't like one rankings of. There's no number one, number two. It's just these are the top 5 vote getters.
Right. And also the way that they're showing up here, that's completely actually it's PowerPoint. So I'm surprised Microsoft wasn't made it big logo there. Anyway, all right. So Enterprise CRM Suite. Those are the top 5. Congrats to the winners there. Let's keep things moving. Now we're going from one end of the spectrum to the other, small and mid-market CRM Suite. And the winners here are Creatio, Sugar CRM. There you go, Sarita. Salesforce, Zoho, and HubSpot. What are some thoughts that went into these guys being the top 5?
Again, there's a couple. Creatio is a new one to that category, so they're a welcome addition. HubSpot, I think, is a new addition to this particular category. Both started basically in the CRM space under the small mid-market industry, so it's nice to finally see them get their just rewards.
I mean, Creatio at the moment's an industry darling. They just took a second round of $200 million for funding. They've expanded their footprint globally to a degree that's phenomenal. I mean, they were the very first winners of CRM Idol in 2011 when they were still BPM Online, right? So they've really grown. They're a great company.
Right. I would just say, actually, all these companies, although some of them are new to this category, every one of these companies has been around for a long time.
Right, and Sugar CRM pretty much got its start in the SMB space, as did Zoho. Salesforce is more likely people would associate with an enterprise product, but they've made very strong efforts in the last couple of years to go down market. They started up this starter program now. So they're really going after this space as well.
Whoever came in and mentioned that comment on Zoho moving up market, you come in as LinkedIn users, so can you identify who you are? And
also the person who says, looking forward to seeing the latest from Creatio in Boston tomorrow.
Probably Ben Becker.
Okay. But, it's really cool that as companies that have been around and kind of moving upstream to play in certain markets, to see that they are still very well entrenched in the ones that they kind of became known for, like Zoho and Sugar and HubSpot and Creatio. They're growing and adding capabilities and functionalities, but still having some level of what they kind of got known for still being at the core of what they do. So that's pretty cool. All right. We're cooking with gas. This is great. We're moving on around. So the next one up.
You aged yourself there, man. Cooking with gas?
Well, yeah.
Nobody even cooks with gas anymore unless they're a chef, right?
All righty now. All right. Contact center infrastructure. I think this will be one that we see some different logos on. And the top 5 for this category are Five9, Genesis, Nice, AWS, and Verint. Completely different set of folks, but then again, we're talking infrastructure here, Lynn.
Right. So the infrastructure, this is basically a category that's devoted to the pipes that go into the contact center. So it's the omni-channel stuff that, allows the system to handle the voice interactions, the chats, the faxes, the SMS, the emails, all of that stuff. It's the routing, it's the IVR processors, it's the dialers for the outbound stuff. It's all of that kind of stuff, what we call the pipes that go into the contact center. So again, typical companies that you would see. AWS is a new one on there. The other companies have been around and pretty much dominated this space for a while, but AWS is up there. They came out not too long ago. I think it was about 2 or 3 years ago with that Connect product. Contact center suite, and so they're fairly new to the game, but I'm pretty sure they're new to the list this year.
Yeah, Lynn, as you were saying that, the first time I remember seeing Amazon Connect, it was actually at one of the last CRM Evolution live events. They had like a big presence at that, and that was like their coming out party kind of.
Right. They did one of our keynotes actually.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
Hey, Glenn, we kind of skipped over it on small and medium business suite, CRM suite, but we have niche players that we kind of skipped over. So maybe we can go back to them and just, we added those. So they're not on the slides. So we kind of jumped over it, but we've got the niche players. We've got Monday CRM, Freshworks, and Pipedrive. Yeah. And can you just explain how the niche players what's the thinking behind presenting them as niche players?
Well, these are typical companies that have done some pretty creative things within that particular space. They may not appeal to every customer who's looking for a broad spectrum product, but they play within a certain segment of that overall market, and they do, they'll fill a specific niche, and they do that. What they do very well.
Okay, great. And I noticed that you don't have niche players in every single category, just where they're really sort of leap out.
Again, we left it up. We left it up to the analysts, and in some categories, the analysts didn't identify any. In some categories, they identified 1 or 2, and in some categories, they might have had 5 or 6.
Okay, all right.
It's interesting to me because I don't know. And this is my bad, is I didn't say Pipedrive, but they actually could play as one of the top 5. They're right up in that range too. They're bigger than niche, really. I love that company. They're what they are though, very underappreciated. So the fact they're getting some appreciation here is really important for them and actually for the industry too. They're a really good company, and they have a pretty decent band too.
Band?
Yeah, they were one of our BYOB 2020. They're an Estonian band. They're in Estonia, right? So they're really they're a fantastic company. They're really smart and very forward, progressive thinkers in terms of the industry itself.
Fantastic. So I didn't mean to make you jump back there, but okay.
No, I'm glad you did because I thought I had put that slide in there. But anyway, but you also had niche players for this too. I don't know if you want to touch on any of those.
Content Guru, Microsoft. Microsoft is a really interesting one there because they're brand new to the contact center space. They just came out this year with their Dynamics contact center product. So to see them as a niche player this year, next year they're liable to be one of the top companies depending on how that product launch goes. Then we had Sprinkler and USON as the niche players in that particular category.
Cool. All right, let's keep it moving. Contact center interaction analytics. Everybody loves analytics. Top 5 here are Cresta, Nice, Genesis, Verint, and CallMiner. So there's some new logos here, particularly CallMiner and Cresta. Cresta's
a new one. Yeah, the analysts really like them this year. They apparently did some really cool stuff, introduced a lot of new capabilities to a product that was pretty strong already, and they've really boosted it in the last year, and that kind of caught the analyst's attention, I guess. Contact center interaction analytics, just to give a little explanation, this used to be a category that was primarily speech analytics, the taking the call recordings and pulling apart who said what and making sense of it. And as the contact centers have gotten a lot more stuff going into them, we've expanded the category that it's now called contact center interaction analytics. And this would include the tech stuff, the emails, the social media, the chat analytics, all of that stuff kind of tied in together. So that's where you're seeing some of these new companies that are popping into that category as well. Is they might not necessarily have been straight speech analytics, but as the categories expanded, they've put their flag into that.
It's also interesting. It's almost with every category so far, you see like a mix of incumbents who have shown up year after year after year. And now but you also see some new names and new ones that are coming into these categories. Is that something that probably is a sign of the times? Because it seems like Gen AI is changing everything in every aspect, and it feels like that opens up an opportunity for maybe newer vendors to come into these categories and shake things up.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, certainly companies Nice, Genesis, Verint, they've been in this space since day one. But as I said, as the category expanded, that kind of opened up the avenue for some new players to put their flag in the company logos, and everything else is, new.
Actually, here's a question for you and Paul, Brent. Do you feel that Gen AI is going to shuffle the deck? Kind of like what cloud did when it came in, or mobile came in when it came in. Do you think? I mean, Gen AI is, clearly everyone is chasing, but do you think that that's going to shuffle the deck?
It's got to
moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, basically, the reason everybody is jumping forward so quickly is because it is shuffling the deck already. And the companies who are smart about it, you take the companies like, say, ServiceNow, Microsoft, etc. They're even building alliances around their Gen AI products, right? Because they understand the ecosystems are evolving and changing dramatically because of Gen AI, and that will always shuffle the deck. I mean, a lot of companies get left out. I mean, one of the things that struck me here was Nice, Genesis, and Verint winning. They couldn't have won for example, they couldn't have won the prior category they won without this, right? I mean, if you really think about it, it's almost impossible, because this is a necessary component of what they won on the infrastructure side. But they also, each one of them, are deeply embedding or deeply involving themselves in Gen AI, because they know they have to stay in there, so to speak.
Right.
I'll just point out two of those, Genesis, and it kind of, you're seeing these new partnerships being formed, like Paul mentioned. Genesis has one with ServiceNow, where they're looking to connect what ServiceNow does with their Now Assist into what Genesis is doing with their Gen AI and AI technology, and they call it some form of experience. Ultimate experience or something like that. And then Verint is doing something. I just did a few good minutes with them, where they call it the Uberization of the call center, where they're using these AI and Gen AI technologies to try to allow contact center agents to kind of be like Uber drivers, take the jobs they want when they want, based on their experience and their kind of their earned credits. And instead of having contact center agents work a traditional 9 to 5, they're saying, hey, look, you earn enough credits, and you have the right expertise, you can kind of assign yourself certain times or certain things, as opposed to kind of having these mandated times. And they're seeing some really interesting results. So I think, Bob, we should hope it gets kind of changed and innovation sets in on some of these things. So we'll see.
Right.
All right. I think let's have some niche guys here too, right?
Yep.
Whoa.
ASAPP, Human First, Invoca, Observe AI, Search Unify, and USON were all identified as niche players.
I have to admit, Paul, how many of them did you know of?
I knew two.
I think I knew Observe and Invoca.
See, I knew Invoca and USON. That's it.
Okay. Cool. To see, even we're finding out some new ones. That's really cool. All right. Keeping things moving. All right. This is Complete Customer Experience Suite. Top
This
five.
This is a new category this year. We added it, and it basically covers everything from soup to nuts.
And once again, we see it's like the triumvirate here.
Yeah.
Variant, Genesis, and Nice, along with Five9 and Oracle. So maybe give us the definition of what Complete Customer Experience Suite is.
Again, this is basically, like I said, it's kind of the whole customer from start to finish. So it includes a little of everything, every kind of touch point, every different mode of channels and ways of communicating back and forth between the customer and the company. So it kind of covers everything from soup to nuts, from the time that they first express an interest in a product to buying it and going through from start to finish until it's time to call and say, hey, my product's broken. Can I get a new one? Or how do I fix it?
I would imagine, if I'm viewing it from the analyst standpoint, and I'm not, to be honest, for varying reasons, which I won't go into, I'm not surprised to see those three of them again, and Oracle, not at all surprised. There's a little bit of there's a little bit of marketing in there, I think, from the standpoint of all those companies, because they identify themselves as CX, every one of them. Five9 is sort of the variant somewhat. Very Nice, Genesis, and Oracle are very strong on their CX ID, right? As opposed to their CRM ID.
Right.
Right.
Product is called CX1, to give you an idea
Right.
of, their scope of involvement in the whole CX space in general.
See, it's tricky because that's the marketing side of it that doesn't prove that they have the full suite. However, what they all do have that I know of, and again, I don't know Five9's details as much as the other ones, or as much as the other ones, but what they all do have, they have all the things you mentioned, plus they also are very strong with things like engagement analytics and things like that on the back end, right? So that, and real-time interaction is a big part of every one of them. And in Oracle and Verint's case, at least, I can't speak for the other ones, they have on the Gen AI side, they have, I'll call it the bot interaction, right? But it's microservices really too, which are designed, like Verint had, what was it, Brent, originally 22 bots or something? I can't remember.
Now I think they're closed in on 100.
Yeah. So but they're microservices is what they are. Yeah. And they're geared toward the customers or the agent to the customer's needs specifically as a task, right? As a thing, as opposed to a broad way you interact. It's highly specific accomplishments. Like, what's that company that out there, TaskRabbit, right? It's sort of like that kind of thing with a bot. Everyone and an enterprise scale too. Those are all additions which traditional CRM suites just don't have that, right? Those are other differences, I'm assuming, that were taken into account. But I also always put a little bit of, thought into the way they market themselves is important, because they see themselves that way and they actively try to build accordingly. And, and then take social CRM and evolve it a little bit, and you'll see where CX is too. So these are not surprising companies at all. Not a one of them, right? I think that's really good. crew.
And we have one niche player, Lynn.
Yep, Usan. That was quite a good number of analysts actually identified them as a niche player. So
they seem to be showing up a lot as a niche player.
Yeah.
Maybe we should just address this question by LinkedIn user. Would be interested to understand the judges' inclusions, exclusions among the winners based on product ranking in top 5 versus fitting into the category definition or not. I'm going to guess, just for me personally, I went really off of the question that was put to us. Which would you recommend in this category? What are the top 5? I didn't do a lot of feature functionality stuff like that. I mean, I've gone to a lot of conferences. I've spoken to a lot of executives at these companies, spoken to customers at these companies, and I have kind of a level of familiarity with a number of them. The ones that I would recommend, that's why I recommended them. So I didn't break out the feature functionality charts or anything like that.
Yeah, either did I. I mean, the other thing, I had all the years of the watch list, which kind of helped me build up some stuff. And then the second thing, though, as I took into account, and this might not, it's sort of a soft choice recommendation, a soft skill recommendation, which is, are these companies easy or difficult to work with?
Yeah.
Right? I was taken into account when you're picking your recommendation, because ultimately you're being asked for 5 in this category. Let's say I had 12 in this category who functionally fit as top leaders. Well, 6 or 7 of them might be not so easy to work with, or their sales team might be over aggressive, or their whatever. I took all the soft stuff into account in my own thinking. And to the general point of the question, I'm assuming every analyst had, in effect, their own way of viewing it, right? And so you get a really good kind of vector aggregate as a result, right?
And certainly some of the analysts that we've spoken to, another factor that they weighed into it is cost as opposed to, cost as it is related to the overall value. So, is it cost effective in terms of what I spend to get and what I get out of it? That certainly weighs into it. Some of these companies, their products might be great, but they're expensive as hell and difficult to integrate, and other things that they might not have made the list because of that. Certainly company direction, people wade into that. If the company's been around for a while, they've got a kind of a presence in the industry that gives them maybe a leg up on some new companies that they might not be so quick to recommend. But each analyst, like they said, has their own criteria, their own categorization.
Biases and criteria. Yeah, it's just, there's 11 different analysts. There's 11 and 11 different ways of looking at it.
Right? But I think the one thread line through it all is, and I think Lynn and Bob, you mentioned it, these folks have been around the industry for probably average of 2 decades. It looks like from that slide. So they kind of know their way around. They know, who to talk to, what to look out for. And we just kind of all do it in our own different way.
And then you get that's what I'm saying. You get, ultimately by doing that, you get a great vector result out of it, right? That's what happens. Everything combines, congeals, and emerges. And it works really well.
You were right, Paul.
I knew it was as soon as you said it was going to be a creation.
Too bad that wasn't a Stump the Godfather question.
By the way, for those of you who don't know Ben, he is literally he was airline industry consultant. Historically, he ran United's customer experience program back in the day when Continental merged with it. He's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, Alan, that's about right. You might actually be a little light on the opinions on that one.
Yeah.
All right. Nice little break up there. All right. Getting back to the list here. Workforce Engagement Management, WIM. I like WIM.
I know. I was thinking the same, Wimmelwick.
Yeah.
The lion sleeps tonight.
Feeling a little whimsy. Anyway, the winners for this one are. Oh, wait a minute. I got to do this. There's a familiar theme here. Variant, Genesis, and Nice are in like half of the, maybe even more than half of the winners so far. But we do have some new logos here: Success KPI and Calabrio. So, Lynn, what do we have here?
Well, again, a lot of this has to do with analytics as kind of the backbone to a lot of this. So it's not surprising to see Verint, Nice, Genesis, Calabrio in there. Success KPI, that's pretty much workforce engagement is all that they do. That's kind of their specialty. So it's good to see them on that category as well. Verint, Nice, Genesis, Calabrio, they kind of touch on a lot of other things. As we saw, they've been, popping up on a couple of these lists so far. So not so surprising to see them, but Success KPI, like I said, this is pretty much what they do. As their name even suggests, they basically look at key performance indicators and base their whole product around that. So good to see them on that list.
You know what? I think I voted for one that didn't make it because they kind of took a different. I'm not going to mention because they didn't make it, but I think as time goes on, we're going to see kind of an expansion of what that means.
Yeah,
and some other companies, other vendors who are playing in maybe not the traditional workforce engagement management, but will become kind of a modern day workforce engagement management. And so I won't be surprised if we see some different ones coming up in the next couple of years.
Well, and this is another category that's expanded on its own. It used to be workforce optimization or WFO. Some people called it WFM, workforce management, but it's kind of gotten a lot more in depth with getting it. It's not just scheduling and forecasting demand and making sure there's enough people sitting in the seats so that when the phone rings, somebody's there to answer it. It's gotten into a lot more of surveying and customer analytics and making sure that, the right people are sitting in the chairs, not just people sitting in the chairs, so that when a customer calls in with a specific problem, somebody's able to field that particular type of question. And the category itself has gotten a lot more expansive in the last few years.
It seems like this one really benefited from the great resignation of the COVID pandemic that was only a few years ago, if we can still remember it. It was that long ago. But this was a really hot category for a couple of years. It's always been a great category, but it kind of came up in center stage.
Verint has some interesting innovation. Yeah. I don't know what hashtag AGM means. What is that?
America's Got Money.
Alan coming with some stuff here. Like I said, this time flex bot and the Uberization of the contact center, I think is really a fascinating concept. We'll see if it actually works. But I think, we're going to see a lot of innovation coming out of this because, some people, I guess workforce also includes bots, to some people.
Yeah, no.
Some people.
No, don't get there. Don't go there. Don't go there.
Okay. We won't go there, but we will go.
Onboarding of bots.
We will go here because this is probably the biggest new addition, and everybody's been talking about it for the last several years. And I want to talk a little bit more after we see the winners, because I had a whole different way of voting for this than I think some of the other folks did. But the top 5: Anthropic, OpenAI, Microsoft, Salesforce, and Google. All right, Lynn, talk us through this one.
Well, the basic ones, Anthropic, they've got that Claude engine, which, from what I was actually surprised, I was not aware of this. Apparently, AWS is a big investor in Anthropic, and AWS just committed to using that Claude as a background for a lot of their analytics and other things that they're doing to improve the whole Alexa experience. So they were an interesting pick. And that Anthropic and that whole Claude is being fed into a lot of other CRM products. A lot of CRM products are being built on the Anthropic engine. Microsoft, OpenAI certainly not a surprise in this category. They created it, so The whole Chat GPT was their baby from the get-go, so they're not surprising. Microsoft certainly has a huge investment in OpenAI, but on their own, they've been pretty big with the whole Copilot products and incorporating Copilots into pretty much everything they do. They've got Microsoft Dynamics Copilots for sales, Copilots for service, Copilots for pretty much every product they've got. Google certainly has been around as the product of choice. With they started with BART, and then they added a couple other things, and now they're kind of pulling it all together into one product. And Salesforce is the unique category leader in this spot because of what they've done with that whole Einstein. That's their own product that they're working on. They're not incorporating anybody else's technology. It's all developed in-house, and they're kind of billing it as the unique Salesforce, AI just for CRM. So they had a unique take on it. But that Einstein, it's a huge product for them, and they're incorporating into everything they do.
So this is, I just want to say, when I saw this category, I initially was starting to put in kind of the general Gen AI plays like OpenAI and Anthropic, Cohere, Perplexity, some of those other. But then I started thinking specifically about what's going on in our industry. And then I started thinking, well, yeah, in addition to what's going on with Salesforce, for example, ServiceNow is doing a lot with their partnership with NVIDIA, and they're building their own kind of Gen AI capabilities internally. So I think I got a little stuck on the kind of the general Gen AI plays versus the industry Gen AI plays. So.
Yeah, I mean, the other side, this thing could, there's literally not a single surprise on here to me.
No.
At the same time, by next year at this time, there could be 5 other ones completely, right? Not likely, but at least several will change. Like, just an example, just in terms of the thinking that's evolving. These are all large language model based Gen AIs, and now everyone's talking about small language model, narrow language model, wide language model based, and highly specific AIs for Gen AIs. For
domain language model.
Yeah, exactly. And that is a real deal. That could literally not displace LLMs, but it will, let's say, stand alongside it by a year from now, because ultimately the amount of work it has to do is a lot less.
Yeah,
and it's highly efficient.
I think we're going to see, like I said, ServiceNow and Oracle, companies that have kind of, they're building their own infrastructure to process their own language models and do it all internally. I think you're going to see maybe next year or two, there may be a bit of a shake up here. And one last thing, and then we probably need to go on. I was kind of surprised that Cohere wasn't there, because early on, Cohere was kind of like the alternative to Anthropic, but I haven't heard much about them lately. So
well, and you got to figure too, this is a category. As a category, the general AI, generative AI in general, isn't even 2 years old. I mean, it was only November 22 when the category first emerged at all. So to have 5 companies like this that are already pronounced in that space in such a short amount of time is pretty amazing.
Shout out to Sven. I just want to say a quick spin. Hell of a spin. Hey, Bob, why don't you answer John's question about when will the edition of the magazine with the awards be published?
Oh, it will be live on the site 5 minutes after 4 today. It's also, this issue is also a print issue, and you should be getting your print issues this week. So it's all coming out today. Go to our website. Hey, Len, just before we jump off this, because we haven't really spoken, this is a new category. Obviously, generative AI for our application area, these are the big guys, right? So this is going to be, I think, a category that, kind of evolves and sharpens over years,
Right.
over the
Yeah,
years.
it's a new category for us. We
so-
just added it as a award category this year.
Right.
And again, it's liable, as both Paul and Brett had said, it's liable to take on a whole different approach next year, depending on how the technology develops and who comes up with what in the next year or so.
Cool.
Great.
All right, let's keep it moving. We're up to data management solutions, and the winners are Salesforce, Oracle, Informatica, Adobe, and SAP. All right, so we're seeing some new, at least to this year's awards, Informatica, and I don't think we've seen Adobe or SAP so far.
No, we haven't.
Well, again, this is a category we expanded. The last couple of years, we had it as the basic customer data platform. So that's where you saw, the standard players. We've kind of expanded it a little bit, so it's data management solutions. So it includes not just the platforms themselves, but some of the other stuff that would feed into the data, clean the data clean rooms. You're seeing a lot more of that type of stuff getting incorporated into this category. So that's why we expanded it out to data management solutions. And that opened up, I think, a lot of, like the Informatica might not necessarily have fit into or been considered a leader in the customer data platform category, but certainly they're playing into the more of the data management. Same thing for Adobe. Both companies have customer data platforms, but they're much more broader solutions. So that's why you're starting to see companies like them.
And you do have a niche player here,
Experian, yes. A couple of people noted that they, have expanded well beyond what they started out with, where it was, you wanted to find out what a company was up to. You went to Experian to look up their company data, and now they've expanded into a lot more clean room and other stuff that they're doing.
All right, let's keep it moving because we're starting to run short of time here. Business intelligence analytics, and the top 5 for this is, or are, I don't know. Domo, Zoho, Salesforce, Oracle, Microsoft. All right, Domo
and Zoho, I believe, are new entries this year into that category. Domo's been around for a while, so they've kind of bounced on and off that list for a couple years now, but they firmly entrenched themselves this year, at least.
Not shocked at Zoho either. They have come so far on their analytics platform. It's just amazing. I mean, it never was horrible, but it was never the best. Now it's among the best.
Yeah, I'll speak from a personal experience. I actually use it, and it's come a long way in the short years that I started using it. So yeah,
to a degree.
Yeah, and analysts also noted Microsoft with that whole Power BI, and they've expanded the capabilities now with the whole AI and the whole co-pilots and all of that stuff that that they've done a lot with that Power BI. So it's not surprising that they're still on the list.
No.
Yeah, and of course, Salesforce with Tableau and what's that thing they bought? MuleSoft, and there's the other. Yeah. They got all sorts of data tools and stuff in there.
And Oracle's had it since day one.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's one of their core.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Microsoft had it too before Power BI. It's like SQL Server and all that other stuff they had.
They were there's some. Let's say this: those three, Salesforce, Oracle, Microsoft, are easy winners, man.
Yeah,
I mean, easy winners. They're all three of them are spectacular.
All right, are we okay? Oh, okay. Now we're up to some of the biggies here.
Hardcore
marketing automation, and the top 5 for marketing automation are Sugar, Zoho, Adobe, Salesforce, HubSpot. Interesting mix here.
Yeah, this is these are all, I think, fairly new categories, with the exception of Salesforce. HubSpot, I don't think, has appeared on our lists, or they've appeared sporadically. One year they're on, 1 year they're off. Zoho, certainly, we've been touting what they're doing for the past hour or so almost. So it's not surprising. Sugar, that sugar market product is just phenomenal. And Adobe, they've really come on strong in the last year, building up their whole content development and product imaging and all of that kind of stuff. So it's not surprising to see them on that list either.
I'm glad to see Sugar finally being recognized for something. First of all, finally not the open source CRM anymore, and beyond the kind of the sales, the SFA, because you're right. Their marketing automation. I think what was that company they bought? I forget the name of it.
I do too.
But it was actually an Atlanta-based company. I should know this stuff. But they have really, you could see the time and effort spent into beefing up their marketing automation. It's good to see that it's being recognized here.
This is such a large category too. So
it is.
Bear in mind, it's a big category. We condensed it into one topic.
And the other thing is, well, I mean, look at it. Sugar, if you take all five, they each have completely different reasons, really, that they're in the category and won it.
And you do have some niche that I think we need to, recognize. Active Campaign, Constant Contact. That was kind of a surprise to me because they've been around forever. And sometimes you forget about certain vendors.
Yeah, and most people think of them as just, that's the email. The email. They maintain my list of contacts for my email outreach, but they've expanded way beyond that in the last.
I think they bought Sharp Spring, which was a great marketing automation.
Yeah, I forgot those.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, they were based out of Florida, weren't they? I think. Yeah,
or North Carolina or something.
Somewhere down here in the South. Yeah, it was
somewhere in the South.
All right, this is good. We're getting there. We're almost there. Salesforce automation. This is of course. CRM's bread and butter was based upon this rock of Salesforce.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, originally our magazine was called Salesforce Automation. So
I think I still have a physical copy of that.
Sarita, it's always good to have a Sarita in the building because Sales Fusion is the company I was trying to remember, based here in Atlanta. All right, so the top 5 Salesforce automation vendors are. Wow, what a shocker. Sugar, CRM, Zoho, Salesforce, Oracle, and Microsoft. I don't see any shocks here.
No, none.
Well, I'm sure the biggest. I'm sorry, Len. I'm sure one of the biggest criteria is market share. So you tend to see the same companies over and over and over, which is one of the reasons why Len put in the niche players this year. So the niche players got some print time too.
Why don't we go to the niche players? They're the Freshworks, Monday, Pipedrive, and SpotLogic. Now, I'm guessing most people do not know much about SpotLogic compared to the other 3. So
actually, Paul, I think that was one of your recommendations. So maybe you can talk a little while you put them on that list.
Well, so given that we don't have much time in there, it's a fairly complex product, but it's a really good one. What it basically does, and I'll just put it in the simplest possible way, it allows salespeople to sell a lot better. I mean, that's probably the simplest way to put it, but it incorporates, they're actually, I can't explain it in a short way.
Why don't we do this, Paul? Why don't we have Pete on the show?
Okay, we'll have Pete on the show, and then that's the better way to do it because it's a superb product. It really is, and it's it really let's say this, it meets its claim, and if you look at it, and its claim is helping basically getting salespeople to sell better and customers to feel better about the sale is actually kind of a secondary aspect of it.
Well, you got me curious. I'm going to check it out.
And maybe we'll have them on sooner rather than later. So think about and I think this category right here, 2 years from now, I would be surprised if none of these are on here because I think GenAI is going to disrupt what sales force automation is to the point where we're going to see some new folks on that leader, and I think we'll see some new folks in this niche area for this.
Yeah, again, I think Pipedrive could be elevated to a leader already. I mean, they're literally that good.
They're that good, but Who are you going to
Yeah.
take out of the top 5?
No, you can't. There's really nothing you can do about it. If it's top 10, I put them there.
All right, so fellas, we actually made it through. Do we want to try to do the conversations, or do we want to do a bit of a recap? Because there's a company that I was very surprised didn't make it on any of the categories, because I think Paul elevated them to what, the top 6. What's that distinction? You had
the big 6:
Microsoft, Salesforce.
Yeah,
I think at the time, was SAP in there?
They're
SAP
still
one-
there.
Yeah,
SAP,
No, I know
Oracle,
the one. Yeah, I know the one you're.
Adobe, and ServiceNow, which is probably the one that's growing at the fastest right now.
Yeah,
And maybe
Well-
it's because of, I don't know. I
I
would be
think
surprised if they would
categories.
not be there at some point
It's
in the future.
categories. They're not
Yeah.
really set up for service now.
Yeah,
A customer service category, you could put them in there.
yeah, with the workflow, customer workflow
Yeah,
stuff.
but the other categories don't really.
Yeah,
they
it's
don't
hard to
really
fit them
feel
in any of those particular categories.
Yeah,
But
I
I
mean-
think eventually they're going to show up in a big way at some
Oh
point.
yeah, definitely. I expect them to start, because they're expanding into all different areas and moving and acquiring
Well-
companies and
partnering, and basically they've built a superb platform. Really, I mean, it's a fantastic platform. A few years ago, they tried to do the thing where they called it wanted to be the platform of platforms, and they dropped the messaging. But the reality is, they can literally do that with what they have, pretty much. Not entirely, but.
and they're updating that platform, that now platform they have. I mean, they're updating that thing constantly. It seems every 2 weeks I'm getting another press release about different capabilities they've added, and they're naming each one of them after a city. So you got the Toronto update, you got the New Orleans update, the Washington update, the Vancouver update.
I want the Atlanta update, damn it. I want to see the Atlanta update.
I want the New York update.
All right, so we're getting close to the top of the hour. Why don't we just do like final thoughts? Because I don't think we're going to.
Well, we can touch on it. We can mention
Okay.
the conversation starters.
Why don't you do that?
There's 5 of them there. Double Verify. Their niche is the whole, well, their name basically says it all. SoundHound is up there. They're a new company. They're a typical speech company. Most people would associate them with like voice ordering. If you drive into McDonald's,
I used them years ago to identify music.
That Amelia, so that's why that's kind of what propelled them onto that list.
I use SoundHound as the first product I used to identify music that was playing on speakers.
Yeah, that was another big thing they had. They had where if you weren't quite sure who sang it and you heard a song, you could enter the lyrics into their platform.
Well, you didn't enter it. You just held it up to the speaker and it would ID it. It was actually pretty accurate too.
But yeah, they're expanding into so many different areas. They're big now in the voice ordering with the restaurants, and certainly they acquired Amelia, so that's getting them into the whole IVR and contact center space. Klaviyo has been around for a while, and they're doing all sorts of interesting stuff with different products. Cognigy, same thing. Bloomreach, same thing. And that's basically what the conversation starters are. It's a category devoted to, these are companies that are doing some really cool stuff.
Yeah, and Klaviyo was a niche player in one of the categories too.
Yes.
All right. Any final thoughts, Bob?
Well, our issue will be live in 5 minutes, so don't jump off this show. But in 5 minutes, you can go over and get it.
And that'll give you the full. We get into a lot more in the magazine itself. We deal with a lot of the market stuff, so we kind of get into where the market is going, how much the analysts and industry folks have valued the particular category, so they'll tell you, it's evaluation as far as we expect this category to grow by so and so much percent. We get into a lot of that stuff. Then we get into a lot of more explanation of to why specific companies got into it, with quotes from some of the analysts talking about why they made certain picks and that kind of thing. So it'll give you a full picture of the awards.
Great.
Paul?
Well, I'm not surprised by the big winners at all, really. I mean, they're the ones who belong there. I mean, they literally do belong there, right? They were to me, they were just the right choices. And what was interesting, and it goes to the point you made earlier, Brent, is on the edges, there was always one or two in every category who were kind of new, right? And that tells you that it's a pretty healthy market generally. And two, it tells you that there's going to be a lot of likely continued innovation in the market, or at least enough evolution of the market so that other companies begin to take major places in the markets, because these are important awards. So it's important that those kind of companies keep evolving. And then I love the idea of the niche players and the conversation starters, and that's got me back onto SoundHound now. I'm going to get back into it again, see what they're doing, because I'm really curious. So
Yeah.
that's the, you know what? So you started the conversation with me, at least, I'll tell you that. So,
Nice.
Brent, what do you think?
It was literally a conversation starter, which is a good thing.
That's what it's all about.
I think it was, you know what, I see the list. There was a couple of years where I was kind of worried about the direction of things. This is completely in the right direction, what you guys are doing. And I like the kind of the new categories and the flexibility that you guys put in, and to allow the folks who are, who've been around, who are kind of talking and working with, in the industry, and the vendors, they all have their own way of kind of doing things. But I love that you give the folks the flexibility to kind of look at the industry through their lens and with their experience and perspectives, and couple that with everybody else who's kind of has that same opportunity. And you can see that categories, like I think I said earlier, there are certain companies that have been around for a while and they're very well established in that category, and you totally get why they're there. But it's actually kind of cool to see companies, either established companies, move into a new category, or when a whole new company comes and joins the conversation. I think we're going to see a lot of that in the next couple of years, because I do believe GenAI opens an opportunity for newer companies or companies that have been established here to maybe move over there. I think it really gives them that opportunity. So,
for Brent and Paul, do you think that new companies' innovation also drives some innovation at the top? The established guys seeing what's going on.
Remember that old thing about death by 1,000 cuts, right?
Yes.
Way back in the day. It's pretty much, let's say, a slightly nicer version of that. They're nipping at the heels all the time, and they do drive innovation. Look, I mean, we're on a smaller company side, but it reflects the bigger one. I talked to this one guy, and I said, well, you're a very small company. Why do you have Gen AI? And he said, because we have to, right? And that was his reason. But if you reverse that, right, when they see innovation coming from those smaller companies, they have to respond to it in some way, because people are willing to go talk to those smaller companies. I mean, the big difference with the big guys is they can outmarket them any day of the week. But
right.
No, and acquire them if they wanted to.
Yeah.
All right, we made it. And it is almost time for you to go over to destinationcrm.com and check out the detailed winners, the categories, the commentary that Lynn and Bob talked about. And before we go, I just want to say a quick shout out to Ron Miller of TechCrunch. He just announced that after 10 years, he is leaving TechCrunch. So well-deserved, whatever he does next. I know he will be a success. But I just wanted to shout out Ron, because he's, other than being a rabid Boston sports fan, he's a really good guy. So with that said, on behalf of Bob Fernikes, Lynn Klee, the venerable Paul Greenberg. Well, no, he can do it for himself. I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM Players, and we should be back Thursday. But don't hold us to it.
Thanks, everyone.